I have made a game with a unique mechanic that's never been used in the industry before. I made a horror game where the only mechanic is saving.
Leon, what are you doing?
I'm saving!
There are a bunch of monsters chasing you while staring into your ass. All you can do is save. You've hit a puzzle you don't know how to solve? Well, only thing you can do is save. It all started when I was taking a shit. Actually, before that. I was playing RE4 Remake on the professional difficulty, which has no autosave by the way. And after playing for like an hour going through two of the hardest chapters of the game, I felt it. The crumbling pressure of poop in my guts wasn't allowing me to continue on with the game. So I paused the game and went to take a dump. As I was literally getting my shit done, the power went out. And no, if you thought pooping in the dark was what I was concerned about, then you're mistaken. I had forgotten to save my game. It was at this time that I questioned, why are these games so skeptical about saving? Saving is literally one of the most important mechanics in a game. Nobody likes to go back to the NES era and have to play through the entirety of Super Mario Bros. Just to have a girlfriend for like 3 seconds anymore.
I'm jacking off to that.
So it was then that I decided to give the honors myself and make a game entirely about saving. You play as a little girl named Emma who has gone through a fire incident with her family and carries the trauma with her. You don't know what caused the fire. You don't remember if your family's gone. All you know is the suffering that you carry around with you. The girl, Emma, is now trying to forget her past and rewrite a new memory. But the monsters that lurk in her fading memories are still holding her back. The player has to go through each area of the house where she had good memories and try to capture them using a pencil and a notebook that are her only weapons. So far. The player can capture and save the state of all puzzle elements, locked doors, and secret items in order to strategize their escape. After coming up with the idea and writing a bit of the game's design document, I started making the concept arts, which didn't take me long to realize that being all fantasy and organized just doesn't suit me. And holy hell, this was taking a shit ton of time. So I went on ahead and made the Unity project and called it Memo, which later I changed into Recollection. You know, fancier and more mouthful name. Like any other first-person project, I started off with a bean. Then, using Cinemachine, I tried to make the first-person camera, but then realized Unity likes to change their entire UX every time they make an update. So I decided to stick to my own first-person controller for now. After that, to test if the mechanics of the game even make any sense, I used ProBuilder to make the first level and puzzles, and holy shit. If you thought Blender was hell, you certainly haven't tried ProBuilder. But our suffering soon ended as I made the first prototype level. You can walk, you can look around, and hell, you can even crouch. And at the end of the hallway, you come across the first puzzle. And before you interact with it, let me talk about interaction in video games a bit. In most indie games, including Thomas Brush's Twisted Tower, you have to directly look into the item and then interact with it. Which I just hate that. It is janky and sucks. So Thomas, if you're watching this, I have made this mistake myself a couple of times before too though. So the interaction system I made here works like this. If you're within a certain range of an interactable and the dot product of your boring, shut up nerd. All I'm saying is this interaction system isn't janky and it's pretty user friendly. Hold up a second. Editor, you know you have to cut this part of the video. And you can interact with the object pretty smoothly. Almost as smooth as that subscribe button. Make sure to subscribe right now, gamers. Once you interact with the object and pick it up, you realize that the door to outside is closed. And you absolutely need this item to open another door to progress. So, what do we do here? This is the part where saving comes in. Now before that, I have never made a polished saving mechanic before. So I searched on YouTube and came across this amazing playlist of tutorials that has 17 videos in it. So, using the help of my boy ChatGPT, I made the saving mechanic, and now after picking up the item and putting it in your inventory, you can save. Or not. You can save your inventory, put the item back to open the door, go outside, load your inventory back, and now you can use the item to open the other door to progress. But the problem here is that now we have two replicas of the same object. And you might be thinking this doesn't cause that much of an issue, but later people will use this to clone items and basically cheese the game. So I modified the option, and now you have to save the inventory items along with the state of all puzzles together and not separately. With the first puzzle done, I had to go through Pro Builder again.
Don't worry, it's simple to adjust.
So here's the second puzzle. This one is inspired from the Moon and Sun lever puzzle from RE4 Remake. You can pull the lever to open a door, but it closes the next door that you have to go through. Normally, this would be impossible to go through in any other mid games like RE4 and Portal, but in my game, you can simply save, pull the lever, load, and then go. It's time to add our first red guy into the game, and I don't think I need to mention this at this point, but as bad as I might perform in the bed, I'm actually so good at making enemy AI for my games. After a heavy coding montage, I made this red bean enemy that has some simple behavior. If he sees you, he follows you. Now to keep the enemy on his territory, I made this green outline cube that limits him so he can go through and neither see beyond this point. Haha, you use this stupid piece of oh! So I fixed it, and now if he goes through the enemy soft stop point, he will forget that you were ever there and turn back. If you've put even a bit of attention into the level design here, then you probably also noticed that there's no way to go around this guy. So I put what they call a finger into this hallway, and now you can lure the enemy in, pull the lever, and then trap this bitch in here. Hehehe. Oh wait, I'm trapped here too. But if you, by some miracle, manage to trap him in here, then it would be cool. Oh! Hi! If you've been watching my videos for some time, you'll know that I am amongst the top 5 worst 3D modelers this world has ever seen. And let me prove it to you right now. So it's currently 9:35 AM, and I've made this already pretty questionable 3D model for the enemy. He's supposed to reflect Emma's fear and trauma of the fire incident, so its muscles and bones are all burnt and he looks skinny and weak. Now here I am, 6.5 hours later, and this is the furthest I've gotten and I will ever get with this 3D model. So I think it was a wise choice to go ahead and steal this Silent Hill monster from the internet, rig it up, make some animations, and then use it in my game. And I'm not gonna lie, this guy, he looks kinda thick. Good news is the enemy now has a grab attack and can actually damage us this time instead of looking dead into our eyes. Bean. The player needs some hands, and you know what? Wise men never make the same mistake twice. GameCook. So this time I straight up downloaded some FPS hand models from the internet. But not gonna lie, these hands kinda look manly right now. So I made some twists and turns to the model and hoped I wouldn't mess it up. After rigging up and animating the model, I put it into Unity and realized the hands can go through walls. And if you look in certain angles, the hand just disappears. Which I don't know how I fixed that. But to fix the hands from going through walls, you just gotta tell the main camera not to render the hands and instead make another camera to render the hands only. And then overlay this camera on top of the main one. But right now, my hierarchy looks dirty as shit. And for the first time in my life, I organized it. Although it still looks pretty Oh, and by the way, we have a Discord server that you guys can join. We'll talk a lot about different things there. Including why I haven't uploaded in 2 months. Right now, there are no effects in the player's saving and loading system. They don't look polished and they don't really feel all that significant, even though they are the most important mechanic of the game. So, taking inspiration from Hollow Knight's healing system, I made this effect, which is quite good for now. Then I made some models for the game, and I know I say this in pretty much every single video I make, but this is the best 3D model I've ever made. And guess what? I never even used it. Or did I? Remember this scale theory model for now. Right now, if you take a look at the videos I've recorded, you'll notice that all you see is plain white. Time to give some color to our environments. I gathered a bunch of reference images from some of my favorite games, including Twisted Tower, along with some color theory, and colored Emma's room all pink, to give the feeling that this is a girl's room. There's a game design rule in all games. If you squint your eyes, you will have to be able to see the main path clearly. Now that I added this carpet, squint your eyes again and see if there's a difference. Then I gave this color illusions in interior design video a watch, and I'm not gonna lie, it is so useful for game design, so if you want to give it a watch, I'll probably link it up here or down in the description too. Then I downloaded a mirror voice and put it in Emma's room along with the other props. And here was where I unknowingly made one of the biggest mistakes of my life. Who's this bald dude? Get out of my video, man. By the way, we have a Discord server. And then I baked some lights. Added some post-processing and it looks pretty good. When I made this project, I made the mistake of choosing universal render pipeline instead of the high definition one, thinking this would be more standard. But still, every time I downloaded some 3D models, I had to reshade every one of the materials for them to work. And the worst thing about Universal Render Pipeline, or URP, is that it doesn't support volumetric lights. And my attempts at replicating them was pretty disappointing, so I just scrapped the idea. To make the encounter with the first enemy really memorable and effective, I made the environment get darker using a local volume / post-processing, and added some red lights as well as these metal bars on the wall to hopefully scare the players a bit more. Yeah, I bought a microphone, and this means being the perfectionist piece of shit that I am, I'm gonna make all the sound effects myself. I made the player's head naturally tilt as he moves around, along with dynamic footstep sound. Then I added the satisfying sound effect of saving and loading the game all with my own mouth. And that's just one small thing in the ocean of the
Satisfying things that I can do with my mouth.
You know what's really annoying? When you hold out the button to save, if you let go by accident and then try to save the game again, you would have to do it all from the beginning. And so I fixed it. This is one thing that the players won't notice, but if done wrong, it will really piss them off. When designing UI, apart from the fact that it should look good and have a good contrast, feel good and user-friendly, you also gotta make sure that the UI is fully responsive. Because no matter how big your audience is, there's always this one motherfucker with rarest monitor resolution possible who's gonna play your game and say, and my first attempt was not effective, but watching a few minutes of this video helped me make the UI responsive enough. Hopefully. You're seeing Emma's mother and father. Now, Devil May Cry fans can probably immediately tell that I took direct inspiration from Eva and Sparta, Dante and Virgil's parents from Devil May Cry, to design Emma's parents. Then I again took inspiration this time from the Hearts of Stone DLC from The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt and made this fading memory of the family gathering to have dinner. Parts of this dinner table are missing, meaning you would have to find those missing parts and put them all on the table to see the full memory. Now I remember that I said my interaction system is pretty good, or maybe I didn't say that, but nonetheless, it is certainly not flawless, because if you position yourself just right and look into the right angle, you can interact with two items at once, causing a game-breaking bug. Now the way I handled this was by making an interact manager of the interactables, interact manager that— Boring, shut up nerd! Basically the one that you're looking at the most, you will interact with at the end. Then I split up my game into chunks, basically turning one level into multiple, and each time based on your position, one level will load up and another will unload. This is done for optimization. And I know that might sound pretty smart and optimizing, but Unity is really not that great at handling this itself. That's partially why Unreal is used a lot more for open world games. Now if you want a tutorial on how to load and unload your scene, you can go ahead and give this video a watch. I'll link it somewhere in the description. And if anything goes wrong, please ask ChatGPT instead of leaving a comment on this video asking me what to do. So right now, the game is incomplete in many ways, but the most obvious one is making some puzzles and levels. And I gotta tell you, actually coming up with ideas and making puzzles is the hardest puzzle on its own. And after a lot of time spent on this whiteboard trying to make a good level and then designing the level in the game, I ended up getting stuck in my own level. So I changed it. But just when I thought the challenge was over and my level was complete, I was slapped in the face with the fact that you can walk up behind the enemy and completely avoid him with no effort whatsoever. As long as you're not in front of it is fine. Actually, even if you are in front of it, you'll still most likely avoid it. And that means this enemy is no good for a game with the stealth mechanics. Which pretty much means I had to rewrite the code for the enemy. And let's just say, I didn't have a good time.
Oh, no.
After fixing up the enemy, it was time to wrap the game up and release a prototype/demo for my Discord members to test. And by the way, we have a Discord server that you guys can go on ahead and join via the first link in the description. First thing to do was making the main menu. And I'm not too much of an artist, so I used an AI to make the main menu art, and I know it's kinda cheap, but with the limited money that I had, I either had to hire an artist or get 10,000 points in War Thunder to sponsor to do. I'm just kidding. I wanted to show a little bit of the story of the game via an intro. And since Emma's gone through a fire incident, I had to put the house on fire. And for the first time in my life, I did visual effects. If you want a tutorial, then go watch this. Link in the description. And after some editing, I ended up with this. And this is how the fully fledged menu looks like. When making a game, you gotta always think of your players as dumb sheeps. Okay, that's not what I meant. But you have to teach them every single thing in your game. And here's how the tutorial system looks like. Now, if you find every single item on this memory, nothing happens. Mainly because I didn't make any animations for them. And after finishing the final memory, it was finally time to finish this prototype. Or so I thought. You remember this skill? Well, it is still lurking in my files, unused. And to finally put this thing to use, I made a puzzle specifically for this skill. But you can't even finish it in this demo. Now GameCook, why would you do such a stupid thing as to put time onto a useless puzzle that cannot even be finished? Well, have you ever played any of the Resident Evil games demos? For instance, in the demo for RE2 Remake, there are so many puzzles that you absolutely cannot finish. And those are the things that keep the player wondering, what if I could get there? What if I could do that? And that curiosity is hopefully gonna make the player want to experience the full version of the game. And in this example, I wanted to make something like the Gracious Underground from Attack on Titan. Only I didn't have time to make it all that significant. It was finally time to give this demo to the GameCook Discord members so that they could test it out. What could possibly go wrong? Yeah, shit happened and my connection to the internet suddenly started acting up like my father.
Non-existent.
And after all the immense pain and torture that I had to go through to upload this game on itch.io, I left a game-breaking bug somewhere in my game files before exporting the game. One that would make the game basically unplayable. And all I had to do was change the position of 2 lines of code. Also, these guys gave my game a try and notified me of the bugs. Shout out to them. And one of them even said that they got stuck on literally the first puzzle. And so I made some more tutorials and made sure that they would get all the help they needed to ask this puzzle. Wait, ask this puzzle? Oh, the P is missing in the script. To pass this puzzle and hopefully learn the core mechanics of the game. Then after a shit ton of playtesting and changing some minor stuff here and there, I finally made the final version of the game and released it on itch.io. You can go ahead and play it via the first link in the description. RE Requiem? No thanks. I'm playing Recollection. Now with that said, thank you for watching, make sure to like, subscribe, and
Get out of here.